Evolution of a Nobody, chapters 36, 37, and 38, Glass Masks and Burning Eyes. Chapter 36. Lisa stopped in her tracks within sight of Albert's home. Every hair on her body stood on end. Tingles and chills ran up and down her spine like greyhounds on a racetrack. That wasn't Albert, and if it wasn't Albert, what was it? Who was it? She'd asked herself that so many times that she'd long ago lost count. There was nobody she could ask, nobody she could speak to, nobody who could tell her anything, and anyone she thought to ask. They're more likely to throw me into a nut house than to be of any help. And what would I say anyway? My friend had different colored eyes, so I think he was a different person. She snorted and shoved her hands into her pockets to at least slow the shaking in her fingers and dry the sweat from off of her palms. Lisa took a long, slow series of deep breaths. Okay, whatever is going on, it can't be that bad. But, she muttered and glanced at the distant setting sun. I wish I'd come first thing in the morning. The late hour was on her since she waited as long as she could, delaying the meeting as she had only prolonged the inevitable. She took her phone out of her pocket and then tried calling Albert. The telltale tone of a dead number began to grate in her ear and caused her to wince. The number you have dialed is not in service. Please try again later. Great, Lisa groused, took yet another breath, and walked the rest of the way to his home. The day was quiet, weekends usually were. With so little work to be had, in part due to Albert's father destroying their biggest employer, most people just stayed home. She knocked on the door and then leaned to the side to look through the window pane. "Be right there!" Albert's voice carried from within his bedroom, and Lisa shouted back needlessly. "Okay, take your time." "Are you sure you can do this?" Albert whispered to the seated demoness. "Yes, I can. And if I can't, my sister can. You just have to trust us, Albert," Raziel said, and leaning forward, she patted his hand and then handed him the dark-tinted glasses. He lay down on the bed in a pair of jeans, sneakers, and a black T-shirt, then closed his eyes. Liala stood over him. A string of syllables flew out of her lips, and she uttered the sleep spell. As if he were worn out after a very long day, his eyelids felt heavy and slowly closed in slumber. Raziel climbed on the bed and straddled him, then pressed her forehead against his, and within moments she began to disappear as she occupied his body. Raziel stood the body up, put the shades on over his eyes, and gave the shirt a quick tug. "Wait here," Raziel told her quiet sister, and Liala sat down, her fingers fidgeting with one another. The angel gave a tight nod. "I know." "This is my fault. Just fix it, please," Liala pleaded, and Raziel left her alone, shutting the door behind her and then opening the front door. Lisa took a step back when she saw that Albert was wearing tinted sunglasses indoors. Albert?" she asked, lowering her head a little. I'm here like you asked." "Come on in," Raziel said with the tranquility of a lake on a windless day. "I'll put some coffee on," she said, and Lisa crossed the threshold of the apartment. "I'm sure you have questions, and I want you to be at ease." Yeah, Lisa felt her blood run cold. Albert's motions were always steady, a constant rate that never really changed. But the person she watched through the open area between kitchen and living area wasn't like that. That person made hard, fast gestures that gave the impression of decisiveness, even anger. "I do," Lisa got out. When Raziel held the pot in the sink and the slow trickle of water began to fill it, Lisa could speak again. The fury which underlay the tone was another red flag. Albert's eyes, Lisa could never forget them. He hadn't been angry when he looked up at her from down on the ground. Sad, unbelievably sad. She recalled, "I'm sorry," Lisa said with tears in her bright green eyes. She brushed a hand over the black eye she wore. "At least I confessed. And I was punished." She bit her lip. Albert wasn't looking at her. The young man was focused on the glass pot that still hadn't filled. "It was a bad decision in a moment of panic. If I could go back and undo it, I would," she added. "Everybody makes bad decisions," Raziel said. "You, me, everybody. But even bad decisions we wish we didn't make, they have consequences. You know that. You're wearing the proof of it." Raziel glared again with a look of ice. Lisa flinched at the cold words and watched quietly while Albert poured the water into the coffee maker, replaced the pot, and turned it on. It began with a click, and Albert rested his hands on the counter and leaned forward a little. "So now that we've figured out how useless sorries are, spit it out. Why are you really here?" Lisa flinched. That day Albert was out, you were out, it wasn't really you, was it?" She searched the face of the boy she knew. His glasses obscured everything. "I've known Albert since he was little. I know everything about you." Him. The way he smells, the way he cries when he's sad, the way he laughs, the way he gets wild with his hands and bounces in his seat like a happy baby in a high chair when he goes on about a subject he is passionate about. I know the way he moves, and that is why I know it wasn't really him out there. Albert has eyes as soft and brown as a doe. Those were blue, deep, and beautiful as sapphires. But even without the different colored eyes, I would have known that wasn't Albert. Raziel watched as the little coffee maker finished its task. "With only 2 people in the house," Albert said, "this appliance is very useful. You can have enough for everybody in just a minute or 2. She said, and brought the creamer out of the fridge and moved the sugar over to her little workspace. Raziel listened as the girl went prattling on, and she did her best to ignore the feelings that the girl carried with every word. She reached up and took down 2 cream-colored coffee mugs, set them down, and filled them both. Raziel poured cream and sugar into a cup, stirred it, and left the other one for herself black. She set the cup down in front of Lisa and then sat opposite her and took a quiet sip. Lisa shivered. "And that's how I know you're not Albert either. Albert has an even bigger sweet tooth than me. He'd never get just black coffee, and he would put away the creamer back in the fridge before coming to sit down." Lisa's entire body shook with fear. The 4 walls, the shut door, they all closed in around her, a cream-white prison of plaster, and an unknown in front of her that was glaring down at the cup of dark liquid as if it had said something rude. "You're not Albert, and you're not the one who I saw that day, are you?" Lisa asked, and her body began to shiver. "Did you kill him? Did you kill Albert? Is he all right?" "Albert was right. There's something to you after all," Raziel mumbled. "At least you're not a total idiot, and you're worried more about him than about yourself right now. Which isn't really unimpressive, I guess," she said with reluctance while Lisa searched the blank face of the young man. Let me see your face, all of it. Take those off." Lisa tried to sound demanding, but with her skin tingling and body trembling, it was a plea more than anything. "Fine," Raziel replied. "I was going to show you after we talked, but maybe it is better this way." "Maybe what is?" Lisa's voice dropped even quieter. "Did I make another huge mistake?" She screamed her doubts in her head. "This," Raziel said, looking down and closing Albert's eyes. She reached up and removed her sunglasses from off of his face. She raised her head, and with the greatest possible slowness, she opened up her eyes to reveal the bloody and demonic red. Lisa never got the chance to scream when she opened her mouth. Chapter 37. Lisa shot to her feet, her mouth open to let out the blood-curdling scream her body commanded her to make independent of any higher thought. When she pushed herself away, the coffee cup toppled over on the table and rolled halfway over where it was stopped by the handle. The tan-colored coffee was not as confined as the cup. Immediately it gushed out to spread over the table and drip down to the carpet below with a noise so soft that only Raziel and Liala could hear it, while the liquid put a permanent stain on the fabric below. Raziel was now well versed in controlling Albert's body. Her hand shot out, and her fingers entered Lisa's mouth to grab her tongue. She inched closer, Albert's head tilted back. She lifted up, forcing Lisa to look upward. Now, stay calm, girl, just stay calm." Raziel looked down into the fear-filled green eyes. "I'm not here to hurt you, or to hurt Albert. In fact, he's not only fine, he's better than fine. I've just got his body for right now, you understand?" Raziel shook the hold on her tongue, forcing Lisa to nod. Focus now, girl. This'll be a whole lot easier if you'd just keep your cool." Albert did. He was shocked, but he didn't scream when he saw me, and he saw all of me, not just my eyes. "You want me to let you go?" Lisa whimpered. Her eyes were wet. She was still struggling. Her hands grabbed hold of Albert's wrist and tried to drag his hand away from her tongue. She made no progress. "I'm supposed to understand that?" Raziel asked with a cruel stare. "Drop your hands, girl, and then blink if you want me to let you go." Raziel gave the order, and after a few seconds more of struggling, Lisa dropped her hands to her side. "Good. We're getting somewhere," Raziel said with a serene smile. "Now I don't trust you, human, so I'm going to let you go, but first I'm going to push you down to the floor, and you're going to lie down on the carpet on your back, and you're not going to move while we have our little chat. Do you understand?" Raziel asked, and Lisa tried to answer. Oh, for... Raziel's eyes rolled. "Blink if you understand." She repeated her prior instruction, and Lisa blinked several times in rapid succession. Raziel then slowly brought her down with a gentle tug until Lisa was put on her knees, and then, to Lisa's surprise, Albert's body put a hand on her back and helped her lie down gently on the carpet. Raziel got down on her knees so that she was straddling the red-haired girl and gently patted the pale, freckled cheek. "Good girl. Now, if you scream, my hand goes to your throat instead of your tongue. Blink if you understand." Lisa blinked. "Oh, God. Oh, God, oh, God, oh, God. Please, what's happening here? What's going to happen to me? What happened to Albert? Why? How?" So many questions filled her mind before his body settled on top of hers. In some of her lewder moments, when she imagined what sex must have been like, she thought of Albert in this position, or herself, but now experiencing something close to the reality of it, she felt anything but the desires that had her keep her door locked at night and her face buried in her pillow. Now, Raziel withdrew her fingers, releasing her hold on the tongue. To Lisa's surprise, Albert's body shook the two fingers and looked at them with a little grimace. "You're free." "Sort of. Humans make a lot of saliva. Do I make that much?" Lisa looked up, aghast. Whatever it was on top of her had gone off an insane tangent, and she could say nothing to it. "Damn it," Raziel said, and her shoulders slumped. "That's what I get for setting flags." "What are you? Why do you have his face? Why do you have my Albert's face?" Lisa half squeaked out, only for the dismayed face of Albert to fill with sudden rage and his fist come down and land by her ear with such force that she felt the brief breeze it made wash over her skin and the floor shake at the blow. "You're Albert?" "The last I heard was you let him get beaten into the muck and made fun of him. And even before that you barely talked to him anymore, all to boost your own status." "You don't get to call him yours, girl," Raziel hissed over Albert's tongue. And that was enough to make Lisa cry harder. "I told the truth, though, and I'm here. Now, please, is he all right?" "What do you mean asleep, and what are you? Please, I need to know!" "What did I meet before? What am I seeing now?" Lisa barked her questions more fiercely than she thought possible, but whatever this thing was, it clearly knew a great deal more about her than she did about it. But one thing she was sure of. "You're a girl, aren't you?" Lisa guessed. Raziel closed Albert's mouth. "What?" she asked. "The way you talk about him, like you want him, like you have feelings for him." "Whatever you are, you're a girl. I'm sure of that," Lisa said with confidence while she looked up at the conflicted face and the red eyes that briefly looked away. "What if I am?" Raziel asked. "I just didn't expect that. But what else are you? Are you a ghost? A dead ancestor? A great-grandmother, maybe?" Lisa guessed several things at random, and as wild as they were, Raziel could only put Albert's fingers to his nose and take a deep, exasperated breath. "You're just trying not to say it, but you've already guessed, haven't you?" Raziel finally said, cutting the rambling girl off. She lowered Albert's face close enough to hers that their lips nearly touched. The soft breath passed the tiny span between them both, and Raziel made another demand. "Say it! You know the word for the definition of evil, cruelty, and malice, for unrivaled strength, viciousness, hatred, lust, and every other sin and vice in your twisted minds. Say it!" Raziel said with her eyes looming like twin blood moons in the untouchable sky. Lisa moved her lips several times. But after trying and failing several times, and with the face of the boy she'd known for most of her life hovering so very close, fearing what would happen to herself and to Albert, she obeyed. Lisa whispered the word, demon. Chapter 38. "Bingo! Bingo! You win the prize!" Raziel exclaimed with a bright smile utterly at odds with Albert's usually grave, serious face, and then with her pointer finger she tapped Lisa's little button nose several times in a row. Raziel then tittered a bit and put one hand on the chest of her host. "My name is Raziel Haleu. My sister and my friends sometimes call me Raz." "She's insane. Is she insane? Can demons be insane?" Lisa wondered and tried to make a smile back up at the body of the friend who loomed over her. "Nice to meet you, Raz." Albert's face frowned over her. The calloused finger came down and found the tip of her nose again. "I said my friends and my sister sometimes call me Raz. That would not include you. You may call me Raziel." Lisa struggled to keep back her shudder. "Ah, right, Raziel, then. So, Albert? Is he still, I don't know, in there?" Lisa asked with a shiver of horror that she finally failed utterly to suppress any longer. "My host? Yes, Albert is simply asleep right now. He's still very much alive and very much himself. I've simply borrowed his body so we can have a little chat. I figured it would be easier this way than if you saw what I really looked like." Albert's body chewed on his lower lip for a moment. "Believe it or not, I was going to make this a bit friendlier. But it turns out you figured things out sooner than I expected. I didn't think you would be so familiar with Albert's little quirks. My sister and he both like cream and sugar, but I can't stand the stuff." Albert's body sighed with annoyance, and he ran his hand through his sandy hair. "I suppose I have only myself to blame for that part." Raziel shrugged Albert's shoulders out and then slapped his hands hard against his thighs. "But maybe this is for the best. You need to understand my position here, my sister's position and Albert's position," Raziel said matter-of-factly before the futile struggle of the girl under her picked up again. More annoyed than angry at her attempt at escape, Raziel pinned her down at the wrists until Lisa was huffing, puffing, and spoke instead. It seemed to be no effort at all for the one inside Albert to use his body to immobilize her. "Of course I know the little details. I used to come and play with him when we were little. We shared a kiddie pool. I was with him when he first tried coffee. How can you think I wouldn't know all about him?" Lisa's anger with the presumptuous creature surpassed her fear, and she glared hopelessly and helplessly up at the tranquil, sarcastic face that slowly began to turn to anger. Raziel's fury was greater than she let on. So much so that she removed a hand from Lisa's wrists and put one finger just behind Lisa's cheek, forgetting that Albert's body had no talons. She traced a finger around the red-haired girl's face as if to peel it away. As if she sensed the threat, Lisa tried to wiggle and move until Raziel put the finger on Lisa's forehead and pushed the back of the girl's skull firmly against the carpet until all the struggling and wiggling ceased. Because anyone who knew the value of the boy, would have taken the beating for him. They wouldn't have mocked him into the muck after using him for her benefit. So I figured you never really paid attention to him. Lisa fell quiet. She had to wait until the sense of shame retreated after such an accusation. "How do you know about that? Any of that? What kind of demon are you even?" Lisa remained limp, but her expression was like flint to hide the lingering loathing for her own actions. For the moment she was unprepared to struggle more, whether Albert's own body was much, much stronger than Lisa realized, or whether the demon possessing him had enhanced his strength considerably, she didn't know. Either way, she couldn't move unless she was allowed, or found an opportunity. She was trapped, and that was that. "I'm a succubus, if you really want to know," Raziel replied matter-of-factly. That hit Lisa as disturbing in several uncomfortable ways. Did he summon you? Was he so lonely, so utterly alone that he wanted a demon lover? Raziel saw her opportunity and took it. With a haughty face that seemed even more out of place than his mocking laughter, Raziel asked, "What if he did? What if he was so bereft that he searched heaven and hell for someone who would keep him company? Do you have the gall to blame him for longing for anyone, anything, even a monster that will hold him in her arms for some other reason than to more easily stab him in the back? Me? Alber's lover. Oh, that's... Well, he isn't a bad-looking one, but still better to leave it to this one's imagination. Raziel thought and expelled a love-struck sigh from his lips. Unable to bear it, Lisa closed her eyes and shook her head when the finger moved away and allowed her to do so. No, I guess not. Is that what happened? Raziel continued to run with the path the girl gave to her. She smiled with malice, baring his perfect teeth and answering, "Let's just say this is all your fault, girl. Albert will lose his body again and again and again. My sister and I take turns controlling it. She heals him when you or your vile ilk do terrible things to him. That's how he was able to run away when she had his body and you encountered them. And that is why I have him now. I protect him from harm, fighting his enemies, and if I have to, I will put them down. He's so gentle that he refuses to even protect himself. So now we have an arrangement. His waking time is his, and we get the rest of the time for ourselves while spending time on Earth. So you're both his lovers?" Lisa sounded accusing, a mix of intrigue, horror, and a very deep blush that stood out on her pale, freckled skin all hit her at once. "That's really your focus right now?" Raziel asked with a cockeyed stare. "I guess both male and female humans are sex-crazed perverts." Albert's body laughed, neither confirming nor denying Lisa's assumption. "I'm not a pervert." Lisa's blush deepened at her denial. "Sure you aren't human," Raziel said dryly. "Here's the bottom line, girl." Raziel raised 3 of Albert's fingers and arched his back. "First, this is all your fault. I know him with the utmost intimacy. He was my first in ways that only demons and angels can experience, and whatever you think of my kind, I am bound to him. Neither I nor my sister can ever do him any harm, which, considering his recent experiences with humans, is a huge plus. Even for a demon, you are one cold bitch," Raziel said and lowered one finger. Raziel then lowered her second finger and said, "Second, we will protect him from all harm, including any harm you might do. If it were up to me, I'd be finding out how far you can survive a fall from, then I would drop you from twice as high. But my sister thinks you might have redeeming qualities. Also, Albert would be sad to see you die. He's had enough sadness. I don't want to bring him more. But and this third one is very important to you personally. If you put him in danger again, and I mean in any way, even by blabbing that poisonous tongue of yours again." She brought the third finger down and lowered herself so that Albert's cheek was pressed to Lisa's. "I will end you." Albert's body came up, and Albert's pointer finger came down to touch Lisa's nose again as gently as could be. Lisa could feel the abject conviction in the body on top of her. "Do we understand each other, girl? You will remain quiet, never say anything, never reveal anything. Go on about your pretty, pathetic life, chasing popularity and status, and maybe it will make you happy. But leave Albert to those who will not betray him for a seat at a table of snakes." Raziel was done, and Lisa deathly quiet. I won't say anything. Not because of you or your threats, but because it will cause problems for Albert. I don't want to bring more trouble down on him." Lisa vowed, then protested, and she felt Albert's body come to a more relaxed state. "There's just one thing." Lisa's eyes moved around as if she wasn't sure which way to look, and at this, Raziel could only wait. "I hadn't expected questions after that." She thought, then nodded. "Go on," she encouraged the young woman. Lisa's lips closed like a vacuum seal, a steady noise behind her lips as she mustered the will to speak, and finally, like the breaking of a dam, her request, her plea, burst forth like water that could no longer be held back. "Can I see what you really look like?"